Guys, just before we start the show, just want to let you guys know that we did have some audio problems with the first part of the show, the comic news, but the second part, our book reviews, we fixed the problem. So please bear with us, guys. This is internet down or stuff like that, so we try our best. So please bear with us, guys. Welcome to another episode of Comics and Tortillas, where we talk about comic news and some books we read this week. I'm your host, Adam, and I'm here with my co-host, Hector. How are you doing,
guys.
Hector? How's it going?
Pretty good. Especially now that I got some food in me.
We were just talking about how our recipes for ramen hot dogs, and I was very surprised that I thought I was the only one. Margot thinks it's disgusting, but
She thinks it's disgusting?
She's like, hot dogs and ramen? I go, I like it. I used to cook it when I lived at her dad's house. We lived there, and I
Good
put
poor
it.
man's food.
Yeah, I would put like two of those packs in the water, let it boil, and then chop up some hot dogs and throw
I've
them
been
in.
I keep adding more and more as I think about it. Because the very first thing that I was always, first it's just, you just eat the ramen the way it is. But then I added the hot dogs. Like I cut up the hot dogs. I learned that I think that I learned it from somebody in the army. And then I started adding mixed vegetables instead. I mean, first, like frozen mixed vegetable bags, I'll put a little bit of the mixed vegetables in, and then I'll let the water boil, and then I'll put the hot dog slices in. And then once the water's boiled for about 3 or 4 minutes, then I'll throw in the ramen and then do the normal 3 minutes. I've also added hot sauce in the what's it called, sriracha, and and a little bit of soy sauce sometimes, or watercress is really good in there. But this is all like extra stuff. Sometimes you just only have like a ramen and hot dogs. You just don't have a lot of time to do something. So I'll just put together. But I've also like thrown in small bits of grilled chicken if it's a chicken ramen. So I'll throw in little cubes.
Usually it's payday week when I started eating the ramen. I would use pepper. I would put pepper, and then maybe a little bit of the frozen ones you use, was it like peas and bits, or like
usually it's like a mix, like carrots, corn, and peas. Those little things, little bits, and then they're all thrown in together.
That's cool. That's cool. Try that.
Yeah,
that's true. That's a funny so we're talking about some different recipes. I like that, and but anyhow, this week's the last week, and then I have 2 weeks off, so that's good.
Come over and play some games.
Play some board games.
Yeah.
Last night we had Margot had her Christmas performance, her TK Kids.
Uh-huh.
And I left at the 4, and I went to pick her up, and I didn't want to see that. I mean, I saw them in practice, and it's just like, oh man, so much noise. So
there's a lot of nails on the chalkboard, and then if it's one of your kids, it's a lot easier to handle.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. But I was afraid if I was there. I know my principal would make me work, and because she already hit me up, she's all like, "Oh, I know you're going to be there," and I'm like, "Well, I am going to be there, but I'm going to be off the clock spectator on not being paid." So kind of gave her like, I don't want to do anything. Coffee, and I could just leave me alone. That's why I didn't go. So it's like I'm not doing it, man. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But how was your week?
It's been pretty crazy. I took Jennifer's car in to have it looked at. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and they didn't charge us anything, which is nice. Then Jennifer had my truck while I had her car to take it in. she came back and she said the car engine light came on. So I took the truck in the day after, I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday. And they said that it was a crankshaft on the code, but they looked at it and it looked fine. And so they were like, they did an oil change for me and gave me a really good deal. And then they said, okay, so if the light comes back on, bring the car in because there might be something wrong with it. Who knows? So we're like, okay. And I took Ender into to the vet today, and on the way back, I was getting off the freeway over on Lincoln, and the light came back on. So I'm like, oh, so I got to take it in on Monday because he can't see it on Friday. That place is a really good place. Duncan's Auto Center, if you live in Orange County area. They're really good guys. Yeah, they're really good guys. And yeah, so there's that, and all of a sudden my chair hydraulic decided it doesn't want to work anymore. It's like, I'm tired of your big fat butt holding it up all this time. So I got that. And then on top of that, my keyboard, I went to go and put it on top of the printer because I was doing shipping, and the prop on the back of it on the right side popped right off somewhere, and I can't find it. So, like, gremlins are attacking the house or something. I don't know what's going on.
That's the worst. That's the worst. Like, when we're building like these, like the MCP models, and like we're trying to put the head.
Yeah.
Or we snip the head like off the what are they? Skewer?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, it's a head too, because you can't. You got to find it.
You just reminded me, I was putting together, I think I was like 12 or 13. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. I was putting together the Darth Vader TIE Fighter. And his body, I was putting his body together, and I had went and taken his head off of the sprue. And it took 3 days before I could find it. And I found it. I went and grabbed it. And Remus, my dog, grabbed it out of my hand. So I had to chase Remus around trying to get Vader's head back from him. And eventually I got him, but, now Vader's got like all this munched head and stuff. He looked like Vader at the end of the fire funeral scene. But I still glued his head in there. I was like, I don't care, it's a completed model.
Look like Obi-Wan beat him up all.
Yeah, it's all a bad helmet and all that. Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So some crazy news.
Yeah, well, some of this is over the course of 2 weeks, because we're going to go back a little bit because there's so much stuff that's going on. Most of it's pretty much all of this is all DC stuff. HBO Max and Discovery Plus will be merged together to be called Max, which honestly was expected since the acquisition. There's no word on to whether the existing streamers will be just automatically signed up with both services, or if there'll be a charge on subscription prices, or when it will be finalized. So Discovery is going to be merged together with HBO, and I guess it was Cinemax. That was originally part of the Max name. And now it's just one big gigantic umbrella of Max. So who knows? I mean, what's that going to do to subscription prices? Are you a HBO Max user?
Well, yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, yes, we are Max. It gets expensive,
Yeah, that's totally true.
I don't know. Like you said, they're gonna boost it up again, because Nambo, and I get Discovery. I don't want Discovery. It's just I don't know. Maybe they do it like Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu.
Yeah,
for like $13.
Yeah, well, it's gone up a little bit. I think it's 16 right now.
If I'm with Verizon free.
Oh yeah,
on my but it's just getting a little expensive.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do some juggling. What they'll do is they'll be like, "Oh, I want to watch Game of Thrones," So I'm gonna discontinue my Netflix and then watch HBO Max's Game of Thrones, and then when it's over, I'll restart my Netflix again.
Yeah.
So I've heard that people do that. They'll juggle like how many services they've got going on at the same time. Hey, you got to do what you got to do in order to get by. I totally understand that.
Well, yeah, Netflix was doing the whole you can't share password or stuff like that.
They're starting to do that, yeah.
Do that, and it's like Netflix just making bad moves. They lost like people, so
they're going to lose more subscribers, I think, if they do that. If they fully, do that, because people are going to be like, well, if you're going to hurt us, then it's everyone's hurting right now. It's a recession going on.
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay, so the other thing is that Jamie Jarek of comicbook.com interviewed Margot Robbie, and they discussed how it would be great to have a Poison Ivy / Harley romance movie in a new Harley sequel. Anyone who has read Batman comics knows that Harley Quinn has had many instances where Harley has been spurned or treated harshly by the Joker. And recently, a limited run of comics has had Harley have a small romance with Ivy. Who would you put in the role of Ivy to be her romantic opposite?
Oh, so who would I have playing Poison Ivy?
Yeah.
Oh man,
if you got Margot Robbie still.
Oh man, you go first. I don't know.
I don't have an answer, man. I don't know.
I don't have an answer. I don't know. So it would be someone very attractive, probably. So,
well, it's got to be somebody that's kind of got a. I mean, yeah, she has to be sultry and stuff, but she has to have, because Poison Ivy has always had that kind of redhead, sultry kind of feel to her. But she's also wicked smart, is what Harley would say. So it would have to be a ginger that's a very intelligent woman. Karen Gillan from Doctor Who that ended up being Nebula. She normally has red hair. She's a beautiful woman and she's very smart. And I think that if she can hide her accent, which it seems like she does because she's Scottish, I'll show you a picture so that way you understand who I'm talking about.
What about the chick from Game of Thrones? The chick from Game of Thrones that played
Sansa?
Phoenix. Yeah, that played Phoenix.
Yeah.
She's pretty. I don't know about her acting skills. I don't know. I know.
Yeah. She's a good actress.
Okay.
The girl who plays Sansa?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. This is Karen Gillan.
So, like, was it in the cartoon? I don't know if you ever seen. Oh, yeah. There's like a Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I think that she would be a good Poison Ivy. She's pretty smart.
In the Harley Quinn animated, she has like the animated cartoon on HBO Max. They're actually, I think, they are a romantic couple in that show.
Season 2. Currently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, in the comic books too, I think they have one too going out right now, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could make. I wonder if they could just make a whole movie about that, though. It's
what they could 45. do is what they could do is they could make it so then that way the two of them are establishing a kind of a relationship, kind of like a Thelma and Louise relationship, and the Joker's trying to get Harley back, and also Batman's on their tail because they've committed some sort of crime. So it's like they're kind of on the run, kind of Thelma and Louise style, so they're constantly moving from place to place, trying to stay out of reach.
Create that relationship between each other,
right?
Your journey.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool way of going about it. It would be a little bit of the two guys chasing after them to do different things, for different reasons, would add the the suspense or the thrill, the chase of the hunt and stuff. So it would add some sort of, reason for their being like on the run kind of thing. So I don't know. I think that would be cool. Let's move on.
Cool.
Okay, so Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 was not going to go forward. She brought it to Gunn and the rest of the new DC, and they basically said that it doesn't fit with what they wanted to do. A lot of different reports coming out. Initially, there was a lot of reports last week that the initial plan for it was spurned, and some people had said that it was actually disliked or that it seemed dumb, which sounds to me more like rumor than actual reality, because somebody like James Gunn and those kind of people would not make that effort. I don't think that they would say something like that. There is also some rumor that it went out that stated that Patty Jenkins basically rage quit, like she just walked off. She announced this week that she did not rage quit, that she brought the script again to them, and they had said no. So whether or not she's still involved and whether or not Jeff Johns is still involved is, up in the air. Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins worked together on Batman. I mean, not Batman, Wonder Woman 1984, and the second time that they had done the script submittal, it was also told that they did not fit with the larger plans of the DC universe. And the thing that's crazy about this too is that Gal Gadot had put out an announcement that she was looking forward to the next movie, and that she was excited, and that she feels so very happy about like having this opportunity. And honestly, I think she did a really good job as Wonder Woman. So it sounds like she's not going to keep that role either, or at least it's still up in the air as to whether or not she's going to keep the role. So that's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. And then in relation to this as well, is that Henry Cavill had initially gone into talks with the WB or DCEU about how he was going to come back. Especially if you saw Black Adam, you would know that he did actually show up on screen. But he ended up like being told today that Gunn, or not today, a couple days ago, that Gunn had said that he is not in his vision. There's talk that his current vision is of a young Superman story, like a Superboy story. So obviously that's not going to work with the 40-year-old Cavill. So it sounds like getting our Superman back is not going to happen either.
This is some terrible news, and well, I guess if it is his vision, but I did hear, I don't know if it's true or not, I saw it on a comic book resources that he is set to play this other part on actually a Warhammer for Amazon. I saw it on comic book resources. I don't know if that was
really.
I don't know if that was a real thing. I just saw it on Facebook.
Yeah,
it said CBR. So maybe we all know that he's a big time Warhammer fan as well. Like he plays Warhammer.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to play a big part in one of the characters. One of the I don't know what they're called, Spartans. I forget what they're called. But one of the blue guys.
In Warhammer?
Yeah, in Warhammer. You know the blue with
the slant.
Well, I don't know.
You mean in Warhammer 40K?
Yeah, 40K. I'm sorry.
Okay, that would be the Ultramarines.
Yeah, so I heard that he may be playing one of the characters in there.
Mm-hmm.
So for Amazon's going to make a live action 40K Warhammer show, I guess. So I don't know if that's. I saw it on comic book resources, so could be still a rumor. So don't get mad if it's not true at me. I just saw this.
Don't get mad at me.
I thought it was
Well,
interesting.
okay. So the only real issue that I could find with that is that who did you say that would produce it?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so Games Workshop probably would be happy to do that because that way they wouldn't have to produce it because it's too big for them. Doing a production is too big for someone like Games Workshop, even though they have a ton of money from ripping people off on their miniatures. But anyway, the chances of getting Amazon to actually do the work instead or produce the job instead, and then maybe just be on as a producer, it's probably too good to pass up. So I wouldn't blame them for doing that. And Henry Cavill would be a great Marine
Yeah.
if he was to play a Space Marine. That would be pretty awesome.
I mean, Henry is going to be in a lot of other stuff. So this may open up. He may
Yeah.
go back to Witcher. He may go to Warhammer. There's plenty of stuff that he can do. I don't see him having a problem finding anything. The guy's a great actor, great guy. So DC made a mistake, and I don't think he's going to ever come back. Even if they come out with another director for another Superman, I think he's done. Right? They messed him over before, and now they came back. And now they're doing it again. So I think.
Yeah, but the thing when it comes to it, to be fair to like say James Gunn, he wasn't around when DC first screwed him. This whole incarnation of what James Gunn has in mind is him probably starting over from scratch and wanting to do a Marvel 10-year,
You want to see a Superboy movie?
Do I want to see a Superboy movie?
Yeah,
well, if it leads to Legion of
man.
Superheroes, but the problem with that is that I thought that he was going to do a JSA movie first. I was actually hoping he would do that because a JSA movie is basically where we start off in DC history. We get. I mean, I know that Superman was the very first character that was come out from DC, but if you look at their timeline, the way that they've been setting it up, they've been making it like Superman and the JSA have been around since the early 40s, and Batman, and except that Batman and Superman were not in the JSA and would do like every once in a while they would show up and do like appearances. But the JSA was pretty much their big foundational stuff. So if they could have started with that again to maybe build up a Marvel Universe kind of Avengers situation, I thought that would be the way of starting it, but apparently I don't know.
I don't know. My money is that DC's going to mess it up. So,
well, they have so many times before, so but that doesn't mean they will. Who knows? I mean, you've got a whole new head, and a lot of people have been replaced. So who knows? Maybe they could have a good idea going on. It's just that I wanted Cavill to come back, and I did like the dot.
Everybody did.
Yeah,
everybody did. They got excited and they pulled the rug underneath us. So anyhow,
we got.
Happens.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Okay, so one last piece of news, and it's more rumor than anything. Chris Wozniak is alleging that he has a Batman lawsuit going on right now. He's part of that whole Comicsgate thing that goes on in the past or whatever, so I don't want to get into any of that, but he's done some freelance work for them in the 90s, and apparently he was accusing DC Comics or Warner Brothers of stealing the Batman story for the Batman movie that just recently came out from his work from the past. And because he was arguing about this and screaming about it, he's saying this is him alleging that this is his statement. This is him arguing about this. I'm not saying that any of this is true or not, but he said because he was putting it out there that they stole this from him and he's considering a lawsuit, that DC Comics has slapped him with a $900 million lawsuit. People have been looking into this whole lawsuit, and there's been no filings for a lawsuit against him. At least this is alleged. This is what people have stated, that they've found no paperwork stating that DC Comics has put up any kind of lawsuit against him. So whether or not any of this is true is probably gonna still get into a bigger snowball and make into a bigger mess. But this sounds like some issue that's going to happen on the sidelines for the next few years. And if this does become an actual lawsuit, then this might actually pull down the possibility of seeing a second Batman movie. Hopefully that's not true, but I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, that's the crazy stuff that's going on over at DC Comics. The only real thing that's going on in Marvel Comics is that John Krasinski was asked recently if he was coming back to be Mr. Fantastic. And he said that there hasn't been any discussions at all. The only discussions I had was actually in the second to the last week of Jack Ryan, said Krasinski. Kevin Feige called and asked if he would ever fly to LA and play in our sandbox for a day. I was honored to do it. I flew right from Budapest when we wrapped and went right to the Doctor Strange set. I'm a big fan of all those characters in that world. So to get to play in that sandbox for one day was a real thrill. But the possibility of me coming back has not been said. Someone had asked him if this was the end of his journey. He says it's totally insane, added Krasinski, to be in a room with all those people and again to be part of that crazy narrative. But yeah, being turned into spaghetti wasn't my end goal in life as far as how it goes in the Marvel universe. But you know what? It was fun nonetheless.
That's cool.
That doesn't mean that he's not coming back, but remember that he was an alternate. He was labeled as a alternate Doctor Strange universe and in the metaverse, so he could be another version of Mr. Fantastic, or he could be like the actual guy, and that's all there is to it. So, and hopefully, that's the news. What do you think about that last story, though?
I think I would like to see him as Mr. Fantastic. I really want a good movie. They're such good characters, and Sony has done such a great job of destroying them. Each movie was horrible. Silver Surfer was horrible. Doctor Doom's horrible. One of my favorite characters, and hopefully we can get a really good movie with some good actors.
I really would like to see a Fantastic Four for sure.
Big time.
I think Krasinski would have been good for Mr. Fantastic, but I mean, it's still early. Who knows? It's supposed to be phase 6, so it's still got a while.
Like 2027. It's gonna be alive. But anyway, that's some cool, some crazy news. So we're ready to get into. You want to go right into it? We'll just go right into comics, or yeah. So we'll be. You know what? We're gonna take a quick break, real quick, and we'll be right.
He did it again.
Oh, I could edit the whole thing. Yeah, I could edit out. Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ.
You have to hit stop, right?
Yeah.
Or are you just gonna let it go again?
And we're back with some book reviews, some couple of books. I actually read a lot this week, but we're gonna review maybe 3, up to 3 maybe. But it was a great book. It was a great week for books. There was a lot of good stuff out there today. And
yeah, I didn't get a chance to really read a lot from this week, but from last week I had like 6 of them, so I kept the 2 that I wanted to read.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'll just get started with Batman 130. This is Chip Zdarsky, and this is the final part of this arc that he's been writing. It's about a new character called Failsafe. I believe I reviewed Batman 125 a couple months back. So just to give we got the final part of this arc, and it was a really good ending. Very, I I'm not gonna go spoil it the ending, but I'm gonna tell you what it's about. So we just got to recap. Failsafe is this type of Terminator robot built by Batman to in case Batman ever crossed that line of killing somebody or turn bad. This was a robot that he had built to stop him.
Oh,
And this robot is relentless. This thing is will not stop. So this is the fifth issue of the final arc, and it was activated when Penguin had kind of he had died. Remember he had died, but he kind of like
oh,
he kind of
yeah,
made it was like Batman's fault. Like
yeah. He
the
framed Batman.
yeah, so
Yeah.
failsafe activated.
Oh,
So
okay.
this machine has been beating up all Batman families, like all of them, all the Robins,
Oh,
Batgirl, just tearing through people. Superman took because remember this is Batman, but without any kind of restraint. So
well.
he he has Batman's brain, so he took down Superman quick, like beat him up quick. He had kryptonite, all that good stuff on him.
Uh-huh.
So the only part I didn't like about this book is the beginning of the comic where he's actually falling from the moon, Batman, and he survives. he
Okay.
literally from the moon, his bat suit hits the atmosphere and it beats him up pretty good. And this is the only part I like about the book. He actually falls. I mean, any part of the planet, right? But he actually falls into the Arctic where Superman lives. What is
Fortress
it?
of Solitude.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. What are the odds?
Yeah.
But whatever. I was okay with that. Whatever. What are you gonna do? So Ed Robin's there. I don't know how Robin got there at this point. And so Superman's there. He's healing from he got beat up in a couple issues back. He got beat up and he's giving them some time. So Batman has an idea where I can put this nanobites in him, but we have to make the fight before he had made a little hole a real hole in the back of him. So
In the back of the robot, or
yeah, fail safe. So there's like very small hole to put the nanobites in. So Superman goes out and gives Batman and Robin some time to put these guys in him. Anyway, the fight was great, but the best part was how Batman relies on Robin. This is Tim Drake Robin, by the way, not his son or not Dick or anything like that, to help him take this guy down. And I love this saying. It says he tells Robin that this thing is designed to defeat Batman, but it doesn't stand a chance against Batman and Robin. Uh, Batman and Robin. The panel is great because it shows like Batman's face, half his face, and it shows Robin's half his face together.
uh-huh.
And it was pretty cool. I liked it. It was really good. So those two went out there and teared it up. He did a backflip and got him in the thing. And I'm not gonna ruin the ending because
Sounds
it's
good.
like I don't know what they're gonna go. I don't know what kind of direction they're gonna go because what happens is so huge. We'll see what happens in the next issue, but it's a great arc. So if you want to wait for the trade, it'll be like 125 to 130.
Uh-huh.
I would buy it and read it. It's really good, and it's a new writer. This is his first arc, so he's doing a really good job. I liked it. I give it 4.5 just because of that moon. Just because of that, it's just like, come on, dude.
It's a little
He
high because
literally
of the moon thing.
he fell through space.
Oh man.
I
And
don't
he
know.
lived.
Anyways, he lived.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Batman can't die in the DC universe, man. Even if he tried.
so bad.
It's the one thing that he cannot do in the DC universe.
He just the money maker, man. He just makes too much
Yeah,
money for DC.
yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, so for me, uh, Justice Society of America by Detective Comics. The writer is Geoff Johns, who we just talked about. Pencils is Michael. I think it's Lannon or Ian. I can't read that. Colors is Jordi Belair. Letters is Rogan Lee. The actors, there's a ton of people in this one. The Huntress, and then there's a ton of evil people. Well, actually, Dr. Fate's in this one too. But Solomon Grundy, the Falcone crew, Khalid Nassour is Dr. Fate. The Gentleman Ghost, Ruby Sarkoff, Salem, Selena Kyle, Catwoman, Power Girl, the Harlequin Sun, Icicle, and the Mist. The premise is that the Huntress is contacted by Dr. Fate to come help him, mentioning a disturbing vision of the future. When she arrives, the Falcone crew is cleaning up a crime scene with Fate's blood in the location, but no body. The story. We pick up the story after Huntress tries to beat the information out of the Falcone crew of Fate's location. She hears from Ruby Sokoff that the Gentleman Ghost and her were unable to find any information on Fate at his home. We see a shot where Catwoman is observing Huntress and Ruby speaking before changing to another scene where this version of the JSA are introduced. A great deal of villains and the children of the villains that are being given a chance by the Huntress to make amends. Selena Kyle warns her that might be a bad idea because these are all children of bad guys. Power Girl is livid. She worries for Fate's life. Can they find out what's going on? What of the original JSA? The art is a masterpiece of anatomy, shot design, and layout consideration. The coloring is very flat with hardly any cut grades, but well established when needed. Vibrancy when it matters. Faces are well defined and anatomy is well studied. There's a night scene in the beginning where Helena Wayne is leaving a scene that is reminiscent of the Frank Miller Daredevil silhouettes of color in the background, or black in the background with white outline. That is just beautiful for the panel. There are 2-page panel scene that looks different in an art form than the original, which gives a sense of time difference, which is important to the story because there is a little bit of time travel that happens here. The writing is pretty good on this one. It keeps us in a loop but wanting for the story to fully unfold. The dialogue is well written. The scene setup is well done. I can't find immediate fault with this comic, and I look forward to seeing how this story unfolds. Again, this is Justice Society of America, #1 by Detective Comics, and this is a 4.8 out of 5.
I actually read this one too.
Yeah, I myself haven't read a lot of Justice League of America, but I've always been interested because I like the characters. The Golden Age characters seem like they're very interesting powers in combination with each other. But every time that I've ever seen the original history of their comics and how is it that they usually dealt with their villains, it always felt to me like the writers had no idea how to really how to give a huge, powerful team a challenge. And when there's no challenge, the story is kind of boring. And it doesn't seem like that's what's going on here. This is just the Huntress is trying to figure out what's going on with Dr. Fate, and it leads to a larger story, which is really important. So
yeah, I mean, when I read it, I was like, I hope you do read this. Like, I kind of felt that you would like this book. I kind of felt where when I read it, I really didn't know all these, because I guess you would have to read a little bit from the older stuff to know what's kind of going on a little bit, and some of the characters, the villains, or even the Huntress being her father being Batman and her mother being
Catwoman. Yeah,
and so it's kind of a little, Jeff John doesn't really go into that, so it's kind of, you kind of have to kind of already know that, but it's not really too big part of the story. But in the comic, it just keeps you going because people are getting. I don't know if you want to spoil it. Did you not want to spoil like what's happening?
No, I was trying to avoid that, but you know what? they do actually. He does establish the connection to people who haven't read a lot of the comic by Helena calling Bruce Wayne Dad,
Right.
Helena being called Helena Wayne, and then Selena Kyle lounging at the Wayne Manor, and then talking about, and her, when they had a dialogue between the two of them, Helena actually mentions Bruce as Dad. So
Quite
there is a couple instances where they give you the impression that if you didn't know before, Helena is the daughter of Bruce Wayne.
right. But I guess what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is this like is this a different multiverse kind of thing, or is this so? What you know what I mean? Because
Uh-huh.
I never knew that Batman and Selena had a baby. Had a baby. I mean, is this something? Is it the crisis? Whatever.
It's well, that storyline is pre-crisis.
Pre-crisis. So this.
Batman and Catwoman had the Huntress in
Okay.
the pre-crisis series, and from what I gathered, now this might be something that we may need to ask um
Your
the
boy.
guys, for, I don't know, my brain's failing me all of a sudden, about, from the guys from my brain's still not working. Darren Watts, about Explain This Comic Guys, the podcast, the crew that always does all the history. They may remember whether or not the Huntress was completely retconned because of the crisis, or whether or not they just brought it back after Crisis, because as he had stated before, he did actually do a write-up about Crisis, and when they were talking about it, Crisis seemed to cause more problems than it helped, and it seems like Dark Crisis is another effort in trying to fix those issues again, and also causing more problems than they helped. So,
But it was a great comic. A lot of stuff happens.
yeah.
A lot of like whoa, 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 and then the ending. Now, I'll probably keep reading it because at the very end you're like, oh, okay, now we're going this way. Okay, sweet. So
Right.
I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a lot of
It's a good start
good
to a
start.
comic. Yeah.
Jeff Johns is awesome. I love Jeff Johns. He did a great job with Aquaman back in 2015. The New 52. He did really good
Uh-huh.
stuff back then. So good to see
Well,
him back.
the story looks good. Just because he
Cool.
didn't do very well with Wonder Woman 1984 doesn't necessarily mean that his comics aren't going to be good. So, okay, so what's your second?
I read this other book called Family Time. It's kind of a simple type story where it's done by Lily and Robert Window. I guess this might be a husband and wife type comic. And we have this family going on vacation to Ireland. This main character is a young girl, and her mother and father are always deep into their work and family business. The kids are saying, "Get off your phone. You're supposed to be with us." Lily is the main character, is his daughter, and her brother kept bugging them to stop doing that. And they get to a old castle, and it's kind of a coincidence where the taxi guy actually picks them up and like, oh, I own that castle. So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. That what are the odds that the cab guy is taking us to the castle where we're staying? So it's kind of weird already.
Uh-huh.
So they go in there, they meet this. He says there's just one other guest that's not expecting you. So if you see him, he's gonna act kind of weird. And they do meet him, and he's kind of surprised, and he freaks out. He takes off. So we don't see him for the rest of the comic. They go for a walk, and they go into a pub, but it's something from like when they go there, it looks like an old school. They think it's kind of like, oh, it's like a Renaissance type old
Like a
pub,
tavern. Yeah.
like a tavern. But when they go in there, it feels like they went back in time, like,
Uh-huh.
and it feels like it's something happened here, like where people are drinking ale, and these two guys come in these with swords, and they think it's an act, but it's actually not an act. It looks like, and so it ends kind of there. Kind of interested of what's going on here. Maybe they time lapse somewhere, or they went into a different they crossed over. I don't know. So I'm interested to see what the rest of it is. The art is kind of real simple though. It's kind of nothing real special. Kind of, I don't want to say manga style.
Yeah.
Kind of just the facial expressions. They would have big eyes and they have like smirks.
Yeah.
So the I gave it a like a 3.5 because it kept me reading, but the art was it was nothing really exciting.
Hmm.
It's a very simple story.
Is it written in and drawn by the same person, or is it two people?
It is. I think it was drawn by the same person as well. I didn't put it in my notes. I only saw a couple names on this book, and
Oh.
it's done by a different company as well, a company I've never heard of. So,
Oh. What was the name
yeah,
of the comic again?
it was called Family Time. So we'll see.
Um,
Maybe I'll read the issue too. It's kind of hard, to keep going on these books unless it really hits you good for me to keep going. Or I'll wait for the trade. So
yeah.
it's okay. 3.5.
If it ever gets there, if it's a small series, it might not
Yeah,
ever get a chance to be in a
I didn't get
trade.
a trade. Yeah, cool.
Um, what was the I'm sorry, I'm doing
And
the
130 was
Batman.
the
It's
what?
just Batman.
Yeah, Batman 130.
They have so many different titles that you just never know.
So
130. Okay.
yeah,
Um, and then I did Justice Society of America, #1. Okay. And do you know who was the name of the company that did
find out
Family
later.
Time?
I'll look it up right now. Go
Okay.
ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so my second one is Avengers Assemble Alpha 1. Alpha 1 actually is part of a series of Avengers by Marvel Comics that uh, goes across like three different titles of Avengers comics that are going on. In the other titles, Mephisto is trying to basically find the location of the original Avengers and destroy it, or destroy the origin story. And so he's going into a lot of different timelines and a lot of different Earths in order to destroy the origins or the different versions of the Avengers. Um, in this one, the actors are. Oh, actually, I should give the title people. The writer is Jason Aaron. The pencils is Brian Hitch. Colors is Alex Sinclair. Letters is VC's Corey Petit, and inks is Andrew Curry. There's a lot of Avengers in here: Avenger Prime, Captain America, Starbrand, Valkyrie, Iron Man, Thor, Phoenix, Namor, Captain Marvel, Nighthawk, Starbrand. A different version of Starbrand, Agamotto is his name instead of Doctor Strange. Ghost Rider, but he's sitting on a mammoth. This is all like prehistoric Avengers. Iron Fist, but it's a woman. Odin, who's playing his son, basically, and the dad. Moon Knight, but it's a woman. No, no, it's a caveman in that one. That one was weird. And Starbrand was like a Red Hulk. And then there's Carter, Longbow, Moon Knight, another Moon Knight, Ant Man, the All Rider, and then there's the multiversal Masters of Evil, who was in another comic that I had submitted before last week, not last week, but the week before that. Doom Supreme, King Killmonger, Black Skull, Dark Phoenix, the Berserker, Young Thanos, and the Ghost Goblin. These are all characters that have been mashed together with other characters. Like, for example, the Black Skull is the Red Skull, but he's got a symbiote on him, so he looks like a combination of Venom and the Red Skull with the Hydra symbol on his chest. So they all kind of have like portions of other characters that look like they merged together. It's a very creative look. The premise is that the multiversal Masters of Evil, hard to say three times fast, a group comprised of the deadliest villains of the respective worlds, have been making their way through the multiverse, conquering countless universes. In response, the mysterious Avengers Prime has been recruiting Avengers from across the multiverse, gathering them in Avengers Tower in the God Quarry. Meanwhile, The demon Mephisto has been bedeviling the Avengers of Earth 616, traveling through time in an effort to unravel their history. The Avengers embark on their own journey through time, seeking to protect the first Avengers in the prehistoric past. After exerting her power and thereby accelerating her aging, the now elderly Starbrand was finally able to send herself and the team to the needed prehistoric Genesis point. So the Avengers families line up to rush to the prehistoric time to try to help the prehistoric Avengers to stop the multiversal masters of evil destroy Earth 616. Predictably, both groups end up fighting each other because that's what Avengers love to do, is fight each other. Out before the MME show up, that's what I'm going to say instead of the multiversal masters of evil, because that's a big jumble of words. While Mephisto and Avenger Prime watch, the Avenger Prime ends up being ambushed by multiple Mephistos, and Doom Supreme shows up and begins his battle against prehistoric Starbrand. Will the Avengers settle up with the prehistorics to rally together to fight off the MME before they are destroyed along with the 616? The art has some odd elements, with the arms being a little long in the anatomy, but overall the characters are still recognizable, even though the female faces are particularly unremarkable. There's no characteristics to their faces, which makes them odd. The whole story setting is in a snow ridge in a prehistoric era, so not a lot of background art to indulge in. But the tower at the end of the Infinity looks interesting, on top of the God Quarry. The coloring is okay, though some areas could be using a better overlay of grading and cuts. There isn't much writing here. The story starts off at the end of the universe where the firmament of the gods resides, and the Avenger Prime leaves his tower to help the Avengers meet up. But then it turns into a brawl for a good bulk of the comic, which is great. Everybody loves a lot of action. Before Supreme Doom even shows up, and once that happens, we resume the story with Mephisto and Avenger Prime in the last 2 or 3 pages. The dialogue is okay. The layout can be a little haphazard in a few spots. So because of that, the whole score suffers. It's 3.6 out of 5. I don't like giving an Avenger story a bad score, but it could have been better executed. I mean, the art was still well enough that it was a good Avenger story, but I don't know.
What was the title and the number?
Avengers Assemble. Try to say that. Avengers Assemble Alpha #1 by Marvel Comics.
I have to give you the Avengers number 63. So I read that one, and that takes place right after the comic book you just read.
Yeah,
I think it finishes it off.
Okay.
So
Do you remember the other one that I told you about, where the All-Rider was involved on a helicarrier, and he had taken over the helicarrier? That was related to this story.
Yeah, I think it was like a little crossover type thing, and
yeah, it was 3 different Avengers stories that were combined together.
Speaking of crossovers, real quickly, they got the Spider-Man crossover event going on. I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's called Dark Web. If you're a fan of the clones, like Peter Parker's clone, all the clones, there's a lot of clones. I think Eddie Brock had a clone.
Right.
So just real quick, I read it. It was great. And I guess the clones have come together and are going against their counterparts. I guess they're real people. So this is going to be a kind of like Judgment Day type thing, where it's going to go into X-Men. This is going to go into Spider-Man. This is going to go into all these different kinds of comics for the next couple months, I believe. I think they show a breakdown.
There are a lot of Spider-Man titles, so that does make sense. Yeah,
but this looks pretty good. The art was great in this thing. So check it out. I'm gonna probably keep up with this Dark Web because a lot of good stuff going on. I think Jean Grey's doubles in there too.
Really? Wow.
I think she had a clone. I don't know. There's clones everywhere in this book, but that was really good. I read Fantastic Four #2. And the art in this book is just beautiful. I think you would love the art in this. And this is the last one was about Ben and his girlfriend going to this weird town. Now this one is about Reed Richards and his wife, and they go to this this quick town. They're having breakfast and whatever, and all of a sudden these doom bots start activating, and because
Oh,
there's people, they look like regular people, right? And then they activate. They there's like a big fight. Reed takes off with his wife. They go a certain distance, and then the doom bots stop, and they turn back to their human form. Like they get out
huh.
of the doom bot. So Reed, being the big brain he is, starts calculating. Okay, so there's a certain amount of radius that they go about, and he notices that there's this old lady that the Doombots are kind of around, and so he and what's her name?
So they're there to
Sue.
protect the old lady.
Yeah, so they figure out we'll go to the old lady's house, but we'll walk around invisible. So Sue Richards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she puts them both invisible for like a long time. Like they walk like 5 miles. So that's one of the things I like about this comic. One on a side note that the writer, his last name is North. He is using these different kinds of their powers in a different way that I have never seen. So
Mm-hmm.
the writer is Ryan North, and so they're walking invisible. They go to the grandma's house, the old lady's house. They go in and they talk a little bit, and she doesn't seem to be a Doombot because she doesn't attack them.
Right.
And so he starts trying to talk to her and figure things out, and it comes to a point where Doctor Doom had come to this town in the very beginning of him, even before he was Doctor Doom, when he was making experiments, and this old lady had given him like housing, fed him, and took care of him. And so we believe that he had set these Doombots to protect her in this town, and before he left. So these are kind of like the first versions of Doombots, and we find out that she's actually had. See, this is the kind of confusing part where she actually there's a skull behind the Doombot mask, where she had died and the Doombot had took over, I guess. And it's kind of weird how I've never seen Mr. Fantastic use his power before, where he actually took his eyes out of his
Uh-huh.
sockets, and
Yeah.
and his hands were stretching, and he was looking all through the girl's face, like like looking for, I don't know what he was looking for. How to take the mask off. It looked weird. It looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But just to see him use this different kind of way of his powers, which
Yeah.
was pretty dope. So anyhow,
A little freaky.
they yeah, a little freaky. So she activates and calls the Doombots. They start fighting again. They do an EMP, knocks them all out. Right? They they
Mm-hmm.
they do their experiment. They're all done. Then for some reason they go to this graveyard, and they're like, "Oh, let's dig up somebody." So they dig up a random body just to see if, well, is
Oh, if it
every
might be a Doombot.
yeah, it might be a Doombot, and it actually is a Doombot. So they Reed Richards figures out how to reprogram them to live their normal life, but not to like attack them. So and but what I'm confused about is, and they don't really talk about it. Like, so do they die and then they bury them, or is this a town? It's kind of
Maybe
weird,
the
right?
maybe the Doombots don't understand that they're not human.
They just pass away.
They think that they're human, so they must also think that they died, and therefore they have to bury each other
And
and
they bury them, right?
go through
Okay,
the
but
whole
then
process of living and dying.
what about reproducing? So this town should be,
Maybe they don't
long.
know they don't reproduce or something, or maybe they come back to life or something like that. But it doesn't sound like it's part of the scope of the story, so they
I
probably
know,
don't
but
have
I'm
to
just
address it.
thinking. I'm thinking outside, like this. There's a lot of
Yeah,
holes in this story, but the
it
art is
makes you question
beautiful.
stuff.
Art is beautiful. I like how we saw these different powers, like I was talking about. So the next issue 3, is going to be about the Human Torch. So I'm curious to see what he's been up to. So
Right on.
it was good. It was good.
Right on.
Very good.
I reread the shoot, what's it called? The Vampire Lestat as a comic.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I have it, and I have an extra copy that I've been using as a reader copy. So I did that, and I have a whole bunch of Punishers that are reader versions that I gave to my mechanic. But before I did that, I was sitting there just kind of going through them again, and they were from the '90s, so it was kind of neat to kind of go through them again and kind of remind myself how that story was. Those stories were kind of odd. They're very it's a trip how we went from the '90s to now, and in how we set up dialogue and stories and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's cool,
So
man.
yeah.
How'd you like it?
Um, I like the Punisher in movies and TV, but I've never really, other than this set of comics, like this series of comics that I have, I had actually were given them by a guy that was in my unit when I was still at Desert Storm. So they were basically circulated amongst the other soldiers, and I don't even really remember reading these until now. So it was kind of nostalgic in a way, and a weird, because I've never really read a lot of Punisher before that. Most of my stuff has been Spider-Man and Thor and the Avengers, and then a little bit of Superman. So it was kind of weird to read these for the first time, and yet still feel that nostalgia of being attached to somebody who a character who was part of my past that I've never really done a lot of reading through. So it was an
That's
odd
cool.
feeling.
I was picking up. Oh, you can't see it because it's fuzzy.
Yeah.
Punisher. The
What?
Punisher #1.
Oh
Uh,
well.
the double size first issue. It was in what year is this? 86.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I had picked this up on the CGC. It's a
Right on.
5.5. I'm a little ashamed, but
Why?
that's okay. Because it's a 5.5. That's like it's all right. I
Uh,
mean, I like it. It's cool. I paid like, I think I got it for like $30.
yeah.
So
See, I've met a lot of collectors, and they have like they'll get their hands on the comic first, even at a low rated slab, and then they'll turn around and try to find a better graded version of it, and then
yeah,
sell the original version off. So if they had like a 3.9, they'll hold on to it until they can find a 5 or higher, and then they'll buy that one, and then they'll turn around and they'll sell the 3.9. So don't feel bad about that. That's the nature of collecting.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. But very cool, man. I remember those Vampire Lestat's that comic book. That was like
Hmm.
they came out in the '90s, like early '90s, right? I want to
Right.
say, I think
Yeah,
early,
both of these are from the 90s.
yeah, that
They're
was,
two different variant covers.
oh, that's
So
cool. That was when Anne Rice was, when she was on top of her game back
yeah, yeah,
then, you know. Very cool, very cool. But
right.
that is
That's it for us, right?
that's it for us. It was a great
Yeah.
week of comics. Look
Hmm.
forward to the next week of comics. If you guys have take a listen to our Andor part 1 we did last week, we're hoping to get part 2 going soon
Yeah.
for the last 7 through 12 episodes. So that was really fun with Ben. Very cool,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
cool.
he was pretty cool. He came up with some really nice ideas that I didn't think about, which I
Yeah,
like.
he's like our Star Wars guy because it's just
Yeah.
I know Tatooine.
Yeah.
The planet I know. But anyways, if you guys could find me on Twitter at @the_mem9, you could find my buddy Hector at.
At Sabathius.
You guys can look at our Discord. It'll be in our notes. Come
Hmm.
join us. We're trying to get more people in there to talk more about comics, what you're reading. what you think, what you don't like, all that great stuff. And that's about it, I think. I think it was great show. Good
Yeah.
stuff today. Good stuff, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll get back to you guys next week.
Yep. See you guys later.
See ya.
Bye bye.